Good morning, it's The Order. I'm here with Tarek. Hello, Tarek.
Hello. How's it going?
It's
How you
going
feeling
well.
today?
Huh? What?
Yeah.
Yeah?
But how you feeling today?
Oh, I've got the jiggles.
Jiggles?
Me and you, we love L5R. We've been playing L5R for like ever. Legend of the Five Rings. We do remember a time before we played though, which is
Yeah,
like it phasey. It's the before time in the long ago,
real hazy in the long, yeah, in
right?
the before time.
Our first edition that we played together was second edition.
Second edition with your crazy Ruma who walked out of the Shadowlands.
Yes, my Haruma that walked out of the Shadowlands naked with a sword and no taint. That was a fun character.
He was the beautiful form that Fuling dreamt in the night. Earth denewed from my pit, my festering pit. Which, if you don't know, festering pit is where Fuling fell into Rokugan.
Well, he fell, and then his impact
Destroyed.
created the pit.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody, all of the other kami like floated down like angels, but he like smacked in.
He was like, "Ah, my parachute didn't it didn't work." Or he pulled the chute, and it was just like,
There's an anvil. We want to talk about this edition of Legend of the Five Rings. We want to talk about the adventures specifically. What were the good adventures? What were the bad adventures?
I think most of the adventures are well suited to just be a group. Like, you can do some of them sequentially and they make sense. They're coherent as you're going through. Some of them have a lot of character development opportunities in them. Palace of the Emerald Champion was awesome because I loved the Kolot aspect, the intrigue, having to hunt down what's actually going on, and seeing a lot more of the pressures that go on at the highest points of society in L5R. You have games that are like Slow Tide Harbor, or sorry, Dark Tide?
It's called Dark Tides. It takes place in Slow Tide Harbor.
Slow
Yes.
Tide Harbor, yeah, okay. That game was awesome as well, not just because I got to murder people without ever really getting noticed about it, but because it was just well designed, really well introduced. The characters are compelling. The storyline is compelling. It shows you a side of Rokugan you're really not exposed to often, and it just really, really great storyline altogether.
And what's good about these two adventures is the storyline goes from the beginner game to Palace of the Emerald Champion to Dark Tides to Mask of the Oni in all like one large arc, unbroken, until we get to, of course, the redheaded stepchild, I think, in my opinion, Winter's Embrace.
So those games, those three games to start off with, really flow well into one another. They form a basis for your characters to really bond with each other, to really explore the world. It's a great introductory arc, and it has a lot of opportunity for player input and growth. And then you hit Mask of the Oni, which was also really fun, really compelling. It's more combat focused, but after all of the intrigue that you've gone through, it feels like a nice refresher of like, okay, now we're going into the shit. And it really does feel like a slog, punishing, and desolate. Like, it makes you feel desperate. But then, like you said, the redheaded stepchild is what comes up next, and that's Winter's Embrace. And Winter's Embrace is just disjointed. It doesn't flow well because you have to have PCs that are really bought in. It takes place outside of the timeline, so bringing in those characters that you've been building on is difficult unless you start out with them, and then parts of the rest of the game or the rest of the adventures have to be kind of cut out, or weirdly the timeline has to be changed in order for it to fit in. And I think we did that well, trying to fit it in, and then going into the action. You need to have an investment into why you're there. The stakes are really, really low because why are the Mantis here? Well, who kind of cares
So
why the Mantis are here?
let's give a little context. The reason for Winter's Embrace. First off, it takes place 1 year before all of the other adventures. And if you want to make it take place in the same year, well, that's the Scorpion coup. Like, the Scorpion take control of the capital. So there are rules where instead of it being Crane focused, it becomes the Scorpion who hire you and want to know what the Mantis are doing there. That's the entire crux of it. What are the Mantis doing here? And like, who cares?
Yeah,
Why is
exactly.
this important? And it doesn't explain why anybody should care about it. There should be like a big event that happens that is flashy that makes everybody go, "Woo, Mantis." And that doesn't exist. Instead, it's just somebody hiring you saying, "I want to know what the Mantis are doing." And that's either usually the Crane in how the adventure is written, or it could be the Scorpion.
If you're not invested in the outcome of that, there's not much else to work with. They don't give you a lot of like plot hooks to specifically pull in for each other day, or these are characters who might be really hostile or be manipulating to try to gain leverage, and then you have to have duels and intrigue. Instead of any of that stuff, it's depending on the GM and the players to really fill in the blanks, but they don't give you enough reason to be there and be invested. So you have to have a bunch of characters who are not only prepared for court, but like invested in court. And I played a courtier in the game, and it still was difficult to find a lot of motivation outside of just whatever my character's primary motivations would
So
be.
this game is
Outside of it.
also there's not a lot to do in it because while it is a full written adventure, it takes place over a course of 2 weeks, and there's maybe only one event on each day, and those are scheduled events. They happen on those days. So, what do you do with all of that extra time? And the adventure doesn't give you a lot of ideas. So, the first thing it does is it gives you clan goals. The clan is asking you to get certain things from other clans, and the default thing it asks is every clan seems to want money, but no clan seems to have money. So the clan goals don't work because everybody is asking everybody else. It's just
For stuff
ludicrous.
they don't have, yeah. And not only that, but to be invested in your clan goals and get something accomplished requires the GM to just kind of pull shit out of his ass. And there's not enough detail on who the key players are that are going to get you those points and why you're the person to do it, right? Like, if you're playing a Bushi with no like mercantile skills, why the hell are they asking you to go and get the clan 30,000 bushels of rice? You know, like, there's no way for you to make that justifiable, really. So
Yeah,
unless
exactly.
you have some kind of mechanism in place ahead of time where you're discussing that with your players as the GM and setting up all these motivations before you start the game, if you're organically just flowing into this, you have to be real lucky, or you have to be really prepared to fill in those blanks for your characters to keep them involved in that game. Now juxtapose that with Sin of Regret, and the
Then
Path
the
of
next
Waves book.
adventure that came out after it, yeah.
Yeah, amazingly well done. There's so much support for it. It's another broad setting kind of campaign where they give you a framework in a time frame to kind of work with. There's a giant village to explore. There's plot hooks left and right. There is amazing, interesting characters to interact with. There's history and lore to the area.
So let me talk about Sin of Regret and the support it has for it, where the other adventures kind of don't. Every adventure comes out with a source book. A source book and adventure comes out at the same time with L5R, and they kind of feed into each other. They're supposed to feed into each other. Sin of Regret does it the best. In the Path of Waves book, there is a fully fleshed out village called Twin Blessings Village, and it is the first location you go to in Sin of Regret. And while you can just use the Sin of Regret adventure by itself, if you have Path of Waves, it has more plot hooks, it has more characters, it has more descriptions of every single location, so everything feels more fleshed out, it feels more real. And on top of that, the web adventure that comes with it, every adventure comes with a little web adventure, is 3 mini adventures that explain like more different parts of this village. It is so amazing and it seems like it's well thought out, even though there may be different writers on all of it. It's just great because there's so many resources to pull from. If a player wants to go here or there, they can just explore on their own, and you have stuff. You'll always have stuff.
Yeah, and not only that, but it gets you interested in the culture. It gets you interested in what's going on. There are hooks that make you invested on one side or the other. No matter what kind of characters are getting brought to the adventure, you can work in motivation for each like character who's coming in, no matter what their type is, no matter what their specialties are. There's something to be done, and there's something that you can like interact with, and really like on a grander scale seek some kind of character development over the course of the game after learning all of the things that are going on from the villager side, from the rebel side, from the noble side. There's a huge intrigue there. There's a huge spiritual aspect. There's a huge there's combat obviously to be had throughout the game if you so choose to engage in.
Exactly. And that's what Winter's Embrace doesn't have. It has like one duel at the end, and that's about it. And duels are great for like little interludes, but duels do have the drawback that they don't involve everybody. It's just one person. But in Sin of Regret, you have skirmishes, you have duels. You go to later on, you go to a full castle, and there's political intrigue and all sorts of different things you can explore in the castle. And the thing is, rather than Winter's Embrace, these things are not time dependent. If a player goes to a certain location, you can spring the event on them.
And you can let things simmer too. You're not rushed to like hit the next plot point. You can let things hit the players and then let them simmer with it for a while, and maybe even detract them into another scenario in the middle of their adventure and detract them so that they now there's a little bit of conflict with, now you have branching paths. Which path do you take? How do you want to do it? You have a lot more freedom to be creative and explore from both as a GM of the game and as a player. So I think it's well devised, it's well set up. Path of Waves, when that series came out, I feel like it was a great launching off point again for L5R to allow people to see the world from a different perspective, whether that be foreigner, whether that be a Ronin or a peasant, or somebody who is, you know, fallen from grace or had a rough past and now they're coming into this game. And Sin of Regret as an adventure not only prepares you as a GM for how to run these games, but how long-term to think about running games. If you want to build off of this adventure, you definitely can. Let's give you a setting. Let's give you an area to really invest in, really build up the culture, really build up the NPCs, and show you how to make adventure hooks and plot hooks and build up a city-based campaign almost, and use that as a mechanism for a lot of fruitful, a lot of eventful, a lot of engaging storytelling from a perspective that you may not ever experience in L5R. I think that was a great idea to kind of throw it on its head and have a completely different feeling for the game. And not only that, but I think these are great adventures to use if you want to become a GM. How do I do that, right? How do I write an adventure that has enough hooks and enough detail? Maybe I'm scared about doing that, but you can take these adventure paths as a template and build onto them. You know what I mean? Try to incorporate stories from your players. Try to incorporate histories and backstories, and build up on what you have from an adventure path, or take that as a template and start something completely brand new on your own, and see the kind of outline for what you need, how you set up a plot hook, how you execute on a plot hook, and how you have the players execute. I mean, those
you
are
can
all
scale up the ideas that were done in Twin Blessings Village. Scale it up for Toshi Rambo or Oda Sanucci or Ryoko Ori. Ryoko Ori. But we haven't even finished Sin of Regret yet. In the third act, there's also mass battle in it. They put a mass battle at the end. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff in this adventure. It touches on so many different things.
Everything.
It hits all the right marks. So adventures we haven't played yet. We haven't played the Wheel of Judgment adventure, but we're gearing up for that one. I think it's going to be a great deal of fun. And we haven't done the Wedding at Kyotai Castle, so we can't give you our full list of what's great and bad, because we don't know what's happening with those two yet. And there's a new line adventure that has just come out, and I haven't even gotten it yet.
I kind of wish we could play the line adventure with a living Ikoma Kage, but I'll have just as much fun, I think, with that Time of Judgment if we go however we're gonna do, or we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. You'll never know what happens in those games. There might be ways for characters to come back. I don't know.
True. We haven't seen it yet.
Thank you for talking with us about adventures today. What is your favorite L5R adventure from any edition, anywhere? What gave you the nice feelings of remembrance when you look back on your L5R adventures? Hey, Tarek, thanks for talking and jibber-jabbing with me.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to do so. I have a lot to say about L5R, and hopefully we'll do some more of these in the future, discuss more of the adventures, discuss more about gaming.
Great. We'll see you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.